John was starting to go crazy on the ranch. It was workday after workday, with little to no help from anyone else. John had big plans for his next trip, which he decided now was a perfect time for. John packed up and left his ranch. He was going on a camping adventure. John made his way to his starting point, which took him a while to get there. His first stop was the abandoned Wapiti Reservation, because it was the far north of the country, making it perfect starting grounds for his cross-country camping trip. By the time he got here, it was already late, so he made a quick dinner, then he set up his tent for the night, then he headed to bed. He woke up early because he had a lot of travel to do today, so he packed up his campsite and hopped on his horse. John had the whole route planned in his head. He'd be stopping at everything cool he saw along the way, which brought him to his first find, this skeleton on the ground. It looked like it was potentially a horse. There was plenty more to see though in the future, so John got back on the trail. He saw a giant train bridge in the distance, so of course he had to check it out. It was a great view from here. This got John excited for everything else he'd see in the future, as this trip was just about taking it slow, taking everything in, no rush. He approached his second stop as a lake came into sight. This is where he'd be spending night number 2. He found a perfect spot to set up camp. Then he headed to the lake. He saw a ton of fish active in the waters, so of course he brought the fishing pole out. He was in need of some dinner for tonight too. He hooked a fish on his first cast and got to work reeling this thing in. This fish put up a good fight, but it was manageable, and pretty quickly he got it to shore. He'd caught a sockeye salmon. This thing looked decent sized to eat too. John kept the fish to cook it and got it over the fire right away. He was a fan of salmon. After eating, he set the rest of his camp up, then chilled for a bit. It got really foggy as he sat by the campfire, but it looked really cool with the sunset. It was time for John to head to bed. He woke up early again, ate a quick breakfast, as he was excited to keep going. John had really cool plans for today. He'd be stopping at something amazing, which all of a sudden was in view. John saw a giant waterfall. Of course he had to go get a closer look, so he went to go see it on foot. When he got to the edge though, it was super foggy. He hoped it would go away soon. Thankfully it did, because he could now see the water. This thing was huge. He decided to go even closer to it, accidentally slipping. He was fine though. As he got to the edge, he noticed something awesome. He pulled out his binoculars and zoomed in, seeing a bald eagle. This was so cool to see in person. John had enough of the waterfall though and decided to keep going. John had a good area in mind for his campsite for tonight. John came up on a spot when all of a sudden he got attacked. He was off of his horse now. A wolf was on him. This thing was beating John up. No matter how many times he shot it, it would just come back at him. Thankfully, eventually he ran away. It was hurt bad on the ground, so John sadly put it out of his misery. He did not want to have to do that, but he legitimately feared for his life there. He decided he might as well take the fur. He thankfully found his hat, then he put the pelt on his horse. Then he grabbed the wolf's body and put it into the river. John was lucky to be okay after that. He continued to head to his campsite, where he finally set up camp. He needed a break after that. A guy came over and said hi to him, asking to use his fire, when all of a sudden another appeared and held a gun at John. They both threatened John and told him to be careful where he camped at. Supposedly, they ruled this area. Thankfully, they left without harming John, but he knew he was no longer safe here. Even though John's life of crime was behind him, he had to do this for his safety. He was not going to let these people mess with him, so he decided to take him out. After a satisfying finish, John of course looted their bodies, then he went to go dump them in the river. He dropped the first guy in, then got the other guy, and put him in as well. This trip so far was surely not going to John's plan. John needed a while to just stop and relax at the campsite. After that though, he wanted to catch some dinner. He was camping right next to the river, so this was perfect. Nothing was biting though. He made cast after cast, with no luck. He finally found some fish in a different spot though, but didn't bring anything in. He changed up his bait, and this time finally hooked one. It was very easy to reel in. It was super tiny. It was a bite-sized perch. He decided to keep it though, because he liked the taste of them. As he was putting his pole away, he noticed a bird. He decided to investigate. This appeared to be some sort of hawk. John wanted to collect its feathers, so he took a shot. He had to cross through the river for this one. He grabbed it and headed back, then of course got its feathers. It was time for some dinner, so he cooked the perch and ate it. Then it was time for him to chill. Once it got later, he headed to bed. He woke up, took down his campsite, and got started with his journey for the day. John was headed down south today. He passed through a settlement on his way and stumbled across a nice house he'd never seen before. For some reason, John felt inclined to go explore it. He was pretty sure it was abandoned, so he headed inside. It was pretty trashed in here. John decided to look downstairs, and just like that, he saw a sleeping man. He had to be very quiet. John realized, what was he doing? This was dumb, so he left the house. He continued his journey to the swamp. He could tell he was getting close. He was now at the small town of LeGras. He would set up his campsite pretty close to here. He got everything made pretty close by, then he headed into the swamp. He was going to do some fishing, of course. This area was known for its fishing, so he was excited. He saw a creepy looking snake in the water though. He sent a couple shots at it, but missed every time. After a couple casts, he was not able to catch anything. Eventually, John finally hooked a fish. This one was very small. He caught a bluegill. He threw it back though, it was too small to eat. After that, he saw some broken sticks on the ground. After inspecting them, he caught a trail of a giant alligator. He was going to try and find this thing. He came across a dead animal, which he also inspected. This led him closer and closer to the giant gator. Just like that, he had gotten his first glimpse at it. This thing was massive. Unfortunately, all John brought with him were his pistols, so we took some shots at him. All of a sudden though, it started sprinting at him. This was terrifying. He ran away immediately. John felt more safe over here, so we decided to let some more off at it. Once again though, it started sprinting at him. He immediately dashed behind this fence. This thing was taking so many shots without going down. Finally though, it was over. John had slain the beast. He could not believe the size of this thing way up close. John took a second to admire it. He couldn't believe he took it down solo. He started to skin the animal and take what he needed. Just like that, he had an alligator pelt. John put it on his horse and then got going because he had somewhere to take it. John headed into Sand and Meat, and he headed straight for the market. John was going to sell this pelt. All of a sudden though, John got ambushed in an attack. He had no clue what was going on, but all of a sudden, he just got shot at. He sprinted away as fast as he could, dodging all of the bullets. One of them caught up to him and tackled him. John thankfully kicked him off and was able to get away from him. John ran far away and just decided to wait this one out. Thankfully, the potential thieves were gone now, and his horse ran away with the pelt so they couldn't steal it. Finally, John took this thing into the market. He was going to sell it to the trapper. He ended up selling it to the guy for only 50 bucks. Definitely not worth his life. He couldn't believe how insane this trip had turned out so far. Even though these were near-death experiences, this brought back some life into John. He honestly missed the thrill and adventure that he once had. It was nearly dark as he made it back into LeGras, where he made it back to his campsite, and he headed to bed. John woke up the next morning hoping for a chiller day, to be honest, and it started off strong with a great looking sunrise. Even with all of these near-death experiences, John was not one to give up. He could go home right now, but he decided to complete this trip. He started his journey to his next spot, which had him leaving the swampy south. This time he was heading west. He had been riding for a long time, so his horse needed a break and to eat some food. He eventually made it to Strawberry, but he was only passing through. He was finally almost at his first stop. He was going to check out this dam. This was a perfect spot to take a break and just relax. John wanted to sit on this beam, but instead he lost his balance and fell. Thankfully, he was okay. He went back up to try again. Thankfully, this time he was actually able to sit down without falling off. This was such an awesome spot. This was much needed after a crazy trip so far. John chilled for a little bit longer, then walked off the beam. He figured now was a good time to set up camp. Unfortunately, it was now raining, so John just had some canned food for dinner. He took a brief nap after that, and the rain had stopped. John saw another cool waterfall right by his campsite. Today was his most chill day by far. Once it got dark, he headed to bed. He woke up the next morning, ready for his next leg of the journey. His ride wasn't as long today. Unfortunately, he was not paying attention on his route as he ended up in the Skinner brothers territory. This was bad news for John. He was ambushed by so many people. He tried to ride away as fast as he could. This was far too many people to take on as one man. They were now separated though, so John decided to take charge and started shooting at them. One by one, he was able to pick them off. One by one, they tried attacking John, but he just kept firing back. There was just so many of them though. This was close to his home though, so John wanted to take them all out. Eventually, he just decided to book it with his horse and made his way out of there. He realized how dumb he was for being so oblivious and going through those woods without his guard up. Once again on this trip, he was lucky to be walking away alive. He really hoped everything would be chill from here on out. He was now almost at his next location. This one would be pretty nice. He finally made it to a cabin, and after a so far stressful trip, he'd finally be able to sleep in something that was not a tent. He chilled for a bit and had some snacks. He decided to go walk over and check out the dock this cabin had. This looked perfect for fishing. He got out his fishing pole and cast it. He hooked a fish right away. This one felt decent size. This was a largemouth bass, John's favorite fish to catch. He just caught these recreationally though, not to eat them. Then he caught another one and another one after that. He called that good on fishing. He decided to go chill on the porch. This cabin was a good change of pace. John went to go check on his horse, when all of a sudden he was attacked again by a wolf. He couldn't believe it. He pulled out his gun and started shooting. How was he being attacked again? And this time there was two of them. This was really dangerous for John. As they were swarming him, he was defenseless. This was an entire pack of wolves on him. After attack and attack, he started to feel weaker. He tried running away, but it was too late. He was mauled to the ground by a wolf. It was over for John. It looked like his luck had finally ran out. It was over for him. This trip ended in misery. All of a sudden though, John woke up. He was very confused. He had no clue what just happened. Did the wolves think he was dead and just leave him? Where did they go? Looked like he was given a second shot at life. John was very banged up, so he decided to head back to the cabin. John realized how truly lucky he was. He had a family back home that he provided for. He could not be messing around like this. He went inside and sat down just contemplating everything. It felt like this trip wanted him to die. He headed to bed. John woke up. After contemplating quitting the trip, John realized he needed to finish this thing for his own sake. He had one stop left, and he was going to do it. He left the cabin heading even more west, and he came up on his first sight. This was a canyon. It honestly looked smaller than he thought, and he saw some people at the bottom. He saw another cool part of the canyon, then saw a deep ravine. This part looked the coolest. He quickly came up on the best view so far though, as this view was absolutely amazing. He could see for miles here, and he even saw armadillo off in the distance. He soon came up to his final spot, where he was going to set up right on Lake Don Julio. He set up his camp right away. He figured he honestly might be safer out here than where he had been. He headed down to the lake, where of course he was going to do some fishing. It was quickly becoming his favorite hobby. It took him a couple of casts, but he had finally hooked a fish. This one was a smallmouth bass, honestly a good sized one. Then next he caught a tiny pickerel, and surprisingly he decided to keep this one. Then he caught one more smallie that he also kept. He made it back to his campsite, where he cooked them up for a nice needed dinner. He was glad he ended up going on this last night. Everything was so much more calm. He watched the sunset fully, then he headed to bed. He woke up feeling relaxed, and he took his time this morning. He ate some breakfast and tore down his site. His trip was officially over. It was time to head back home. This trip overall felt like it was destined for John to die, but he beat all odds. Strangely, this was one of his favorite trips yet. This is what made him truly feel alive again.